What's up, pussies? Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing more of a video essay, so if that doesn't interest you, go ahead and leave. Won't bother me none. Totally get it. I'll be back doing Let's Play at some point soon. But today's video is called The Theory and Truth of Git Good. Now, if you've ever picked up a Souls game before, then you've probably come to understand the heartbreak of getting killed during a boss fight just before you reach your souls, or the undeniable anguish of getting knocked off of a ledge by an enemy, or better yet, getting invaded by other players and then ganked by said players and the enemies in the level. Now, if this happens to you often enough, then you've probably gone for help and gotten the advice of simply get good. Now, those two words can easily either demoralize or infuriate you, which can make you quit the game altogether. Now, that does beg the question though, what is getting good and how do you do it? And I do believe that it'll be conducive to my argument if I explain why the Souls games are both mechanically incredibly detailed and enjoyable subconsciously and consciously. Part 1. Is Dark Souls hard? Also, for the rest of this, I'm going to be reading off of the script I wrote because memorizing that first paragraph took too fucking long, so sorry. To begin, I'll posit that the main reason that the quote mainstream populace doesn't enjoy Dark Souls isn't because of the difficulty, but because of its simplicity. Now don't get me wrong, these games aren't easy. I have plenty of controllers in the trash because of these games, and I have rage quit these games probably more than all of my other rage quits in my life put together. And that includes 100%ing Crash Bandicoot multiple times. And yeah, I know, it's a simple little platformer, but it's also hard as dicks and relentless. Oh, you haven't gotten far enough in the game to unlock that section, that bonus level in there? Well, watch Crash get fucking beat up by boxes. Oh, yeah, no, fuck it. You thought you were having fun. Like, fuck you, I guess. Avoid the invincible fucking warthog on that one level, jumping on broken and possibly rotted wood, and fucking ice boards. Yeah, it's all just shit. Why was Crash 1 so hard? My point is, Souls games can make you a poopy person. These games aren't difficult how most people view difficult though. When most people reach a difficult scenario, especially in video games, they don't just repeatedly rush in and get shit on over and over. They look for a different approach to the solution. I can read. When most people reach a difficult scenario, especially in video games, they don't just repeatedly rush in and get shit on over and over again. They look for a different solution to the problem. In the Souls series, you're going to meet many difficult situations, and 9 times out of 10, there's only one way out of that situation. You beat the hell out of them. You dodge their attacks, you whack the shit out of them. Wash, rinse, repeat. The difficult part is that this isn't Assassin's Creed, where you can just run away, get back into stealth, and then kill the enemies, or where, like most other games, you're incredibly overpowered and you can just walk through the entire game like a cakewalk. The Souls series asks nothing more of you and nothing less than standing tall against your enemies and facing them down. Clearly there's more to the game than that. However, at the very core of this game, it's a simplistic action game that, why am I not reading it? I said I would read off the script and you guys shouldn't fucking mind. Clearly there's more to the game than that. However, at this game's core, it's just an action game that asks you to take challenges head on and overcome them with your own skills and knowledge that you've gained playing these games. To refocus my argument, my point is that these games go against the mainstream and doesn't just look to spoil you and let you slide through the game. They're trying to give you a challenge, or more accurately, the reward of completing said challenge. Page 1. Dark Souls focuses on giving you the feeling of finally getting an achievement that you've been grinding hours to get consistently at every boss in the series. And while yes, I know there are a handful of boring bosses, we're looking at you, Curse-Rotted Greatwood, but I do think it's fair to say that the Dark Souls series has become synonymous with well-crafted and engaging boss fights. The game seeks a fine line between being punished constantly and allowing you to walk through without any challenges. If you're looking for a game just to relax, kick back, and play, Souls games probably aren't for you. The Souls series have a lot of differences and unique nuances in each game, but the one thing that they all share is that they're consistently challenging. And I need to make the distinction between challenging and difficult. Difficulty in games is usually simply buffing the enemies with insane amounts of health, or even debuffing the player like Dante Must Die mode in Devil May Cry. Challenge pertains more to the actual design of the levels and enemies. Look at Skyrim for a random example. When you change the difficulty, all of the enemies just have increased HP and their damage is increased proportionate to whatever difficulty you choose. While I guess you could say that this is harder, I lost my spot, fuck me. While I guess you could say this is harder, what the fuck? Why do I keep losing my spot? Jesus Christ, I can't fucking read. God, you're a shit actor. While I guess you could say that this is harder, but I just end up using way more potions, and I don't just stand in front of the dragon, whapping away at his face while he breathes my fucking skin off with his fire breath. It feels as though it's not a real challenge, just more tedium that makes me spend more time fighting things. Challenge comes from design and intentionality, which probably isn't even a word, but intentionality behind the tasks that you do. In Dark Souls, every boss has a different moveset that you have to learn, and every level has secrets that you have to pay attention to, and you have to pay attention to your surroundings, learn enemy placements, and learn where the key objects are on your journey, such as Estus shards and undead bone shards. You can see where I'm going with this. Dark Souls asks you to learn and be on your guard while playing. In doing so, you actually learn more while playing it, and it can fairly ask you to complete these challenges. Even when it feels completely unfair, and in some ways it totally is unfair, you know that even if a new sword or new armor set or even shield could help, the biggest reason that you're failing is because you haven't improved enough yet, and you're just not fighting well enough. The main reason you need to get good is because you haven't adjusted yet to the game's challenge level. And allow me to explain before you call me a dickhead. I know I more or less just told you to get good, but there's a little bit of truth in the statement. If you want to overcome this challenge, you need to delve in and give it your attention. You need to learn. And how do you learn? Well, it's easy. You just play the game. I think the best way to exemplify this is with Sekiro. The combat in Sekiro feels more like a rhythm game than anything else. The game focuses on deflecting attacks constantly and having a back and forth with each enemy until one of you fails. Now, it conveys this to you with loud, definitive sound effects, so in the heat of battle you can tell the difference between a block and deflect and either your posture or your enemy's posture being broken. People can react much faster to sounds than they can to visual stimulus, so this is an incredibly, I'm just gonna rephrase it because I can't fucking say it. This is an incredible way to subconsciously teach the player to get better. Dark Souls does this as well, but it's much more nuanced. While the audio cues are more subtle in Dark Souls, what the fuck? Why can't you keep your goddamn place? Jesus Christ. While the audio cues are more subtle in Dark Souls, they also usually give you a fairly telegraphed move along with the audio cue. This works almost as well to teach the player how the enemies will come at them and how to combat the enemy, while just letting you play and enjoy the game while doing so. By teaching you the most efficient way to fight your way through subconsciously, they can also teach you to fight off instinct rather than methodically moving through the game. Fuck me! Learn to read, you stupid shitty cunt. Fuck! By teaching you the most efficient way to fight your way through, subconsciously they can teach you to fight off instinct rather than methodically moving through the game. I'm terrible at this. I'm trying to be an actor. It's not a good sign. So, do you see how mechanically beautiful that is? That just by playing the game, you're constantly learning and improving as you go. That's a heavy attention to detail that you just don't get from any other game. Also, if you're looking to get good at other games, my advice is relatively the same. How do you get good at fighting games? You have to spend hours in practice mode. You have to learn about frame data and have to learn about punishes, well, whiff punishes, and all of the game's specific nuances between Mortal Kombat and Tekken 7. There's a lot of things that translate, but some things don't. What does translate is you just spend time in practice mode. How do you get good at FPSs? You play online against other people and you practice your snap reactions to make sure that you can be accurate on the fly as quick as possible. To get good at any game, the main key is to continue to play and test yourself. I think Dark Souls is easier to get good at because you learn as you fail, even when you're not thinking about it, while most other games require a lot of attention and for you to focus your attention on what you want to improve. That being said, I think the reason that people think Dark Souls is harder is because you don't start off being able to just push people's shit in by pure luck. In Mortal Kombat, when you're just starting out, you find a combo that you can easily repeat and you just fucking wall every enemy you have, and usually you'll come out fine. You'll get through the story mode no problem, and most arcade towers on medium won't be a fucking issue. In an FPS, all it takes is a stray bullet while hip firing to just drift into somebody's head to get a kill. In Dark Souls, you have to be deliberate, and you have to know how you're going to approach a battle, or you're likely going to be low on healing items very soon. To sum up my point in this section, Dark Souls is kind of hard and kind of not. You will inevitably lose horribly at some point. That's a good message, Archie. I'm glad you wrote that one. But it's true, you will inevitably lose at some point, and it will be horrible. And you'll come to sections that you'll spend a lot of time at. However, with enough perseverance, I think almost anybody can beat any one of these games. Part 2. Why get good? Now you're probably wondering, why in the hell would I want to get good if it just means I'm going to die over and over again? Because that doesn't sound fun at all. The reason you should get good is because it isn't easy, and that it takes determination. The most amazing moments in gaming history come from overcoming great challenges. The best example is Daigo's incredible Street Fighter comeback, parrying Justin Wong. And while writing this, I was rewatching this moment, and I still got hyped up as hell just seeing it for the millionth time. This moment exemplifies why gaming brings people together, and why gaming is so viable as a spectator sport. We as gamers live for moments like these. We live for overcoming difficult challenges with our own skills and wits, and we live for the excitement of comebacks as spectacular as Daigo's. Everything that gaming embodies can be summed up as overcoming challenges. Name a game with a narrative that isn't overcoming great challenges. There are very few and far between. The reason they're so hard to find is because at our core, that is what is most enticing to us for a story and narrative as gamers. We want to be the hero who saves the world, or the badass who can fight 20 armed men at once. My favorite game, for example, is Shadow of the Colossus. For those of you who don't appreciate art, it is a game where you ride to the Forbidden Lands to revive someone dear to you by appeasing more or less a dark god. This god is called Dorman. He asks you to kill 16 colossi that hold a soul prisoner within each one of them, with nothing more than a sword, a bow, and one damn fine horse. Aggro, I'm sorry about your leg. You embark on this journey to fight quite literal stone giants. This game has no enemies other than the 16 bosses, and you have to beat each one in a unique and interesting way. You have to figure out how to use your hands to take down a giant monster made basically out of a fucking mountain. And that experience is incredibly engaging to me, and one of the best artistic experiences I'll ever have, just in general. I played this game at 6 years old and felt depths of emotion and excitement I didn't think were possible. How awesome is it that one boss, commonly referred to as Avion, it's my boy, you have to hold onto his wings as he flies through the air. This is a colossal stone bird with, I don't think, hollow bones, so it doesn't make sense how this guy flies, but it doesn't matter. You have to climb around him and hit his weak points while he's flying through the air, and you manage your stamina, and it's engaging, it's stressful, it's cool, it's a challenge, and it's exciting, and his music's going on. And it doesn't make sense how a giant stone bird fucking flies, but it's fucking radical, okay? So, whatever. It's awesome. It's a great challenge, and it's engaging, and it's memorable. It's a unique experience with its own unique challenge, while also posing philosophical and emotional questions to the player without a ton of action or even anyone speaking a real language. That is awesome, and it takes so much talent and skill to pull that off. That game sparked and still sparks that excitement I was talking about when referring to Daigo's parry. It gave me a unique and rewarding experience that I think all gamers search for. The Souls series and many other challenging games offer unique, rewarding experiences of their own and are totally worth the effort of achieving. When asked, why get good? The answer is to conquer new challenges and to gain new points of view and experiences. I don't even think it's up for debate anymore, but many people still don't see the artistic heights that gaming could reach and already have reached. Gamers understand that video games are art. One of the easiest examples to point to is The Last of Us, and I honestly think that anybody who enjoys film or video games should play this game. The Last of Us absolutely changed the whole market of video gaming because of how successful and well crafted it was. It gave you a deep and involved story where you could relate to both of the main characters, and it showed a raw look at these people who were going through this terribly rough journey, and you got to feel and experience exactly how hard and terrible it was. shit, I lost my spot. It showed us characters that felt so human and real that we couldn't help but connect with the story. Gaming had become multiplayer shooters and weak single-player experiences, except for a few gems here and there. For a long time, developers just didn't seem to focus on the story and single-player experiences in favor of what will sell to almost everybody, but likely make no real impact, even with your biggest fans. The Last of Us showed people that a story told through a video game can be just as impactful as even the greatest cinematic hits. Getting good is worth doing from an artistic perspective more than anything else in my eyes. In a movie, you can always get the full experience because you sit and watch. In a video game, the experience is unlocked by your work and your work alone, and it feels blissful. You are experiencing an artistic piece that you unlocked through your skill. That's fucking awesome. Getting good is worth it to see as much art as possible, if nothing else. God damn it. Video games win again. They're fucking awesome. Shit. And it's important to get to these artistic experiences because they can have a lasting impact on your views, on anything, on any one subject, and it can impact your life forever just by inspiring you. And all you did was wiggle your fingers on a controller or a keyboard and probably yell a couple times. And if that isn't dope shit that can change your life, well, what is cool? I mean, come on. Now, I've wasted enough of your time, so in conclusion, Get Good doesn't need to be negative. Like life, it's all about perspective. All challenges in games take effort to overcome to varying degrees, and you can either accept that the reward isn't worth the challenge, or you can become a freaking masochist and push through. Get Good can change from the stigmatized insult it currently is, or it can become a beacon to crazy gamers that this challenge is ultimately worth it. And you can prove to yourself that you can get good and ascend from a filthy casual to ultimate gamer supreme. Getting good is worth it because of the challenge. Why do people climb Mount Everest? Because it's the tallest mountain in the world, because of the challenge. Why the hell would you climb a mountain where you need an oxygen tank just to enjoy the view at the top? Because of the challenge. Why would people still climb Mount Everest when they literally use the bodies of people who have died trying to make this trek as markers for how far along you've gotten? Because the challenge is worth it. I know that video games aren't Mount Everest, but some of these challenges can feel like you're trying to move a mountain. And being able to accomplish something like that is something to be proud of and something to hold on to and something to enjoy. Overcoming the challenge is worth it, so that way you can say to yourself and prove to everybody else that you have overcome a challenge that they might not even be able to do. That you have pushed through and been determined enough and persevered. Dark Souls is the Mount Everest of gaming to me. It's got a lot of challenge, and every time you beat one of those challenges, it feels like you are staring at the rest of the world from the peak of Mount Everest. So, basically, get good, you fucking scrubs, because it's worth it. And I'll see you in the next video.